Okay, folks, so I'm going to show you how I start my planting of potatoes, and then after I plant the potatoes and they need hoeing up, how I grow my potatoes in sawdust. So on the left hand side you'll see that is just bare ground. That was all grass, just like on the right hand side of this bed over here. And I dug all that up and turned the sod over, allowed the dirt to dry, and then pounded the dirt out of the sod. The sod then went into my compost bin. Now, normally if we had a long enough season, I would just flip the sod over and let it completely dry back and work it in the soil. But the growing season is so short here, and this is a brand new bed. I've never had a bed here before, so I've got to amend the soil. Now, I do use chemical fertilizer on my potatoes only, because I find that my composted chicken manure tends to get my potatoes a little scabby, and scabby potatoes do not store well. All right, so this is how I do it. Now what I did was I went ahead and dug the trench, and then I go with 10-10-10 fertilizer, and then I just sprinkle a little bit down in the trench. And then I will work that in, right? But there's another ingredient that I will add. Now folks, if for some reason your fertilizer got damp and you have a clump like that, make sure you break that up. It does break up very easily. Just squeeze it. Okay, you don't want too much fertilizer in one big clump like that, because it'll burn your plant. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is if I can find my rake. I lost my rake, folks. Oh, my rake is down the other side, the other end. So what I'm going to do is put some of that dirt back in there and mix it a little bit with the fertilizer. You don't have to get fancy, folks. It's only a potato. You don't have to get fancy. So after I work that in just a little bit, normally I put this combination that I showed you before in another video of garden lime, borax, and Epsom salt. Usually what I do is put that on top, or 2 weeks before I plant. But seems I just worked this up, I'm going to put it right in and mix it up a little bit. And in that other video, I gave the recipe for this secret ingredient. So if you go back a little bit in my videos, you'll find the secret ingredient recipe. And like I said, ideally you want to put this on 2 weeks before you plant. But I'm running out of time, folks. So you just put that on so it looks like a little dusting of snow. And then take that, and what I do is just mix it in just to the bottom. You don't have to be fussy, they're only potatoes. Okay? You can have a real pretty garden, real pretty soil without clumps, without any grass, all mulched up nice and pretty, so it looks like a postcard. And you can grow something, or you can do it the way I'm doing. It doesn't look so pretty, it's not as fancy, but I know I'm going to get potatoes, because this method here, the way I'm going to show you throughout this row here, is how I plant potatoes with great success. Even though this is new soil that hasn't never been worked for probably over 40 years, because this used to be a cow pasture. Well, it was a cow pasture, but then it was turned into a cornfield, and then it was just allowed to grow up into woods, and then it was all cut off. Back when you could clear cut, it was all cut off, and then they harvested all the topsoil where I am. So I'm starting out making my own dirt. Now this here has a considerable amount of clay in it, but I have worked it and worked it and worked it just in the last couple of weeks. So I feel confident that I could grow in it this year. So the next step is adding bone meal. Now, any of you who have never gardened before, if you are planting any root vegetables folks, those vegetables would greatly benefit from bone meal. So I am going to put this a little bit thin on the bottom, okay? So there's the bone meal. The blood meal will come in when we start to add the sawdust. So if I can find my rake again. So what we're going to do, we're just going to do what we did before. It's just the bottom of the trench. That's all there is to that. Now we're ready to put the potatoes in, folks. Now, I've got russets to plant, and I have Kennebec potato to plant. Now, it doesn't matter which one I start first, but what I do is I put my potatoes, my seed, a foot apart. Now, I do not cut my potatoes in half, quarter them, nothing. I put the whole potato in, folks, because each one of those eyes, if they turn into a potato plant, then there's more potatoes in a smaller area, right? Now, if you were to cut a potato in half, let me grab one. All right, I don't know if you can see that. That is a potato. Now I could cut it right in half, and all these right here will sprout, or I could leave them just like this. Now try to see, there's no eyes on the bottom, so make sure that the new growth is pointing up. So this will give me more potatoes per plant, and if I were to cut it in half, then every foot I would get half as many potato plants, okay? I crowd my my plants here, and I've had really good success, okay, as long as you take care of them, folks. Yeah, these are Kennebec, folks. So I've got one eye here, and I've got several right there. So what I'll do is I'll kind of plant it. I'll kind of plant it like this. And I just lay it down in the hole. About a foot apart. About. Don't get fancy, folks. They're only potatoes, folks. They're only potatoes. Try not to break off the eyes, folks, when you're putting them in the ground. Okay, now if I have a real small potato with not very many eyes on it, folks, I might put two of these right side by side. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potato seeds left, and what I will do is I'll grow them in a container somewhere. So that's all there is to that, folks. Now I know this is getting long, but I'll probably chop it up a little bit, speed it up. So now that they're all ready, I'll just cover them up with about 2 inches of soil, folks. That's it. About 2 inches of soil. Just enough to keep the potato a little bit damp and covered. Because I really don't want the potato itself growing in dirt because they're hard to clean. When you grow them in sawdust, they're really clean, folks, just like they've been washed. So, and I do know, folks, that some of those potatoes will be in the dirt when I harvest them, but that's okay. The majority will be clean. And that is it, folks. Now, we're supposed to rain tomorrow. It wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to rain, not shower. Now it's down to anywhere from 55 to 84% rain. So I'm going to lightly dust again on top, a little bit lighter than before, with bone meal. Let that wash right in with the rain. And that is it, folks. Then we wait for the rain. Now, some of you may be wondering what the purpose of bone meal. Now, bone meal you use on, like I said before, you use bone meal when you plant your root vegetables. It promotes a nice healthy tuber, a bigger tuber, and just a stronger root system, okay? So this is how I plant my potatoes, and I won't even tend to these again unless it doesn't rain. If it doesn't rain to wash that bone meal in a little bit, then I will come out here with a watering can and I will wash it in. So we don't do anything else other than that if we have to until the shoots come up about 2 or 3 inches. Okay, and then we'll go from there. So stay tuned, folks.